Hello. He's a proud son of Ghana, Ghana's longest-serving Attorney General and Minister of Justice, and an illustrious son of the newly created Guan District. Dr. Obed Asamoah is my guest. Ghana is 65 years.
Yes.
This is a country that you love, you belong to. 65 years. Are we where we are supposed to be?
No, I think we could be better off, really, with the appropriate strategies. And I believe that Kwame Nkrumah really, in a way, set the tone by showing that development had to follow two prongs. One, adding value to what we produce. Two, import substitution. And even at this time, you will remember that chocolate was being produced from the cocoa that we produce. And you know, the cocoa, the chocolate industry, for example, is in billions of dollars. And it's not us who are making the money. It's European countries that are making the money.
We are growing the cocoa.
We are growing the cocoa. Does it make sense that people are making billions of dollars every year from chocolate, and we produce what? A pittance of chocolate in this country? Sometimes you can't even get it to buy. It really just doesn't make sense. We produce timber. A lot of it gets exported, and then they make furniture outside the country for us, and they come and sell the furniture back to us. It doesn't make any sense. And in terms of import substitution, even in Kwame Nkrumah's time, you know, he realized that we like things like corned beef and sardines and things like that. And he started producing corned beef. Not only that, I remember that you could buy television sets made in Ghana at that time. You could buy fridges made in Ghana. And Sanyo was producing all these things. Now what happened to all those things? It just disappeared.
What happened?
I don't know. I mean, ask me another. I don't know. I think that we're not sufficiently conscious of the way to go forward. We didn't have the kind of vision that Nkrumah had. And I think that's it.
So it's a leadership problem.
It's a leadership problem, and a leadership problem not only in terms of the political leadership, but a leadership problem in terms of the sort of personnel that we appointed to man state institutions, and particularly state corporations. You know, there's a lot of politics in it. I mean, if a particular party wins power and they go into office, then they use their people, they appoint their people into state corporations.
Even though they are not fit?
Yes. You know, usually it's kind of a pay for support, you know. But we could have chosen people that had the business sense, and we could have had a different way of going about it, but we are still on the same path.
So the solution is the political leader appointing people with the skills into positions.
That is absolutely necessary, and I think that is something we should have been insisting on, but one regime after another has been interested in the spoils of office, and we have not approached the subject properly.
Can it ever change, looking at our politics?
Well, it should be possible to change it.
Who has to lead the change?
Well, the very politicians who are benefiting from it, because you see, if you get more production and more money for the country, more development, you get more credit for it. You know, so it's just that we are short-sighted, you know, and we think that once we can appoint Mr. A to a position and as a reward maybe for political support, and then that's about it. But there's more that we could have gained by appointing B, who is competent for the job, but who may not be your supporter. You know.
But if a politician who does the appointment is benefiting from it, then this phenomenon won't end today. It's not likely to end at all.
Well, when you say benefiting, it's not so much that the benefit financially. It's just that the reward those they think have been supporting them. Yeah, and so it's not really an issue of profit, you know, but an issue of trying to satisfy those you think are your supporters.
Until we get rid of this, it means that there is no hope for us?
Well, I mean, you can still have a situation, particularly now that there is so much education and progress. You can still find fairly competent people even amongst your group. You see, not necessarily. I mean, if you have a situation where you have a family and friends kind of government, and of course, you know, positions are given to the family and friends. But if you can look outside the family and friends and get competent people who are of your political persuasion, you can still make progress.
You served under Mr. Rawlings.
Yes.
And did you see the kind of competence that you're talking about under his regime?
Yes, but you know, in every government, you do have people who are in charge of economic management. I was not, you know, involved in that at all. And you usually have the Minister of Finance and the Minister for maybe
the Vice President and the
Vice
rest
President.
of it.
Vice President usually is the chairman.
But you sat in cabinet, so you could have influenced decisions in a certain direction.
When you are talking, if fancy you talking, you are a lawyer, you are talking to Baumia, is he going to listen? He thinks he knows so much.
He won't listen to you.
He won't listen to you, and he talks so much that, you know, he really, I don't know how if he wants to be a presidential candidate. I think he's talked so much so that he's going to have so many questions to answer. In politics also, it's not good to talk too much, you know.
The effort we've been making to turn the economy around, Professor Mills came in, John Mahama has been there, Mr. Kufuor has come in, and Akufo-Addo is in here. From a point of resolving the economic challenges, we are now in a situation where the president himself says our economy is in some kind of a challenge. How do we fix this?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You just go back to the basics. You go back to what Nkrumah saw as the way forward. You see, as right now we become lazy, and we become dependent upon international financial institutions. You know, they give you peanuts. You know, we have to find a way of breaking into the trades and the businesses of the things that we produce, and then also look at the amount of rice we produce here. I mean, we buy from abroad, mainly from Southeast Asia. Why can't we produce that here? And even we have superior rice. Well, we have, you know, the brown rice, which is superior. But we have all kind of got accustomed to this white rice, and you know, why we can? There's a lot of land. Can you imagine that we even import tomatoes from Burkina Faso, and Burkina Faso is arid. It's a desert, more or less. How come we can't produce tomatoes here? I just can't understand, you know.
Do you see the change you're talking about? This government says, I'm going into one district, one factory. I'm going to go into more production than taxation. Do you see that change you're talking about? Well,
it's a way forward, but I haven't seen much progress in that respect. And I think that one should base industries in areas where you have raw materials. You see, sometimes also because of politics, we base offices in areas which don't really produce what what the industries are supposed to produce. You take, for example, you talk about cocoa. You know, for the water region, the major cocoa office is at Hohwe. Hohwe doesn't produce cocoa. Cocoa is produced in the Jasikan district and beyond. You know, why was that so? It's one of the things that made people want to create the OT region, because they felt that, you know, the development was kind of lopsided. You know, so these are the things we just need to be a little more careful. And
let's talk about the Judicial Service and its contribution to Ghana's democratic dispensation. You had served as Ghana's longest reigning Attorney General and Minister of Justice. Now, have we have a judicial system that has seen Ghana's ability to overcome constitutional crisis, Ghana's ability to ensure that people have their liberties and people's rights and responsibilities are all adhered to?
Well, first of all, you have the element of political interference in the judicial process. If you take Nkrumah's time, for example, you remember in the treason trials, when I think Justice Kosa and others gave judgment in favor of some people who were being tried for treason, the court was sacked, and Nkrumah set up another court. That kind of thing. How can you get proper justice under such circumstances? And political influence of judicial decisions still continues, maybe on a lesser scale than before. But the other thing, of course, is the laws that we make. I mean, you take, for example, the electoral laws. You have an election petition, and the electoral commissioner then, you know, refuses to go and give evidence. It's because we did not make the law to make the person who is the electoral commissioner a compellable witness. Does it make sense? You manage something. You manage an election. The election is under question, and then you say you won't go and give evidence. What kind of nonsense is that? But it's the law. It's the law that allows the person to do that. But I believe there's an element of personal integrity also involved, because I believe that the electoral commissioner that we had would have disagreed with government if we said he shouldn't go and give evidence. You know, but there you are.
If you were, I mean, if you had the opportunity, you would want to amend the law to make the
I think it's important. One of the first things that we should do, we should amend that electoral law to make the electoral commissioner a compellable witness. Really? How else? You have done something. The issue is being examined or questioned. Then you say, no, you won't go and give evidence. Really? That's absolute nonsense.
Political interference yes, that is what you would say. A few days ago, there was debate about judges who lean towards political parties. You are a trained lawyer. Is this possible?
Sure. I mean, judges also have political opinions. Obviously, they have political prejudices. But you can have judges who have political prejudices but are not influenced by those prejudices. But you can also have those who have prejudices and then they are influenced by those prejudices. So maybe the justice system has not been has not run absolutely correctly, but I think by and large we've done fairly well.
We have been able to do what every judicial service would have done for a nation?
No, I mean, as I told you, there are lapses, you know, but those lapses are individual lapses.
It is not the system.
It's not the system, but there is a system only, for example, in terms of the electoral law that I pointed out. The law should have made the electoral commissioner a compellable witness. But the law doesn't make the electoral commissioner a compellable witness, so they can afford to say, I won't give evidence.
The issue of separating the office you once held, the Minister of Justice, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, some have said that we want to deal with corruption, separate the two. Do you subscribe to that argument?
Yes, I agree. I think we should. And I think that is the spirit behind the appointment of special prosecutors. But then we appoint the special prosecutors and we don't give them room to maneuver and to do the right things. You know, there were so much advice that Martin Amidu gave, for example, about corruption, which was ignored, you know. But in one particular case, I think, I forget now, there's some establishment where the head of the establishment was supposed to, I think, to do with procurement.
Right. The PPA procurement
PPA thing, yes,
issue.
that's right. And I think that, you know, he couldn't account for some of the money that he has got in his bank account, and he's supposed to refund about, what, 5 million Ghana cedis or something. Well, that's some progress. But that's about the only achievement I can I can see, you know, in the present circumstance.
Some progress, but very little. That's
very
how you put
little,
it.
Very little.
And so, if we say we're fighting corruption, what amount of progress would you then say that indeed with this we are making real headway?
Well, I think it's like what I said before. I mean, when people are held accountable, that's about it's only then that you know you are making progress. But when you have so many situations where people have issues to answer and they are not held accountable, or they are protected by political power, then of course we won't make much progress. A lot really depends upon the integrity of leadership, you know. Yeah, see, and I believe that to some extent it's found wanting.
You were reported to have said that the verbal threat of a coup does not mean that the state should marshal resources and go and pick up that person. Is it to say that the state cannot make efforts to deter people from engaging in things like that?
Now the point is that if you, to arrest somebody, you must arrest that person on the basis of some evidence. And then don't forget, we also have a constitution that protects our human rights, and freedom of speech is one of them. So fancy, for example, you as a journalist, you go to a place and you say, well, you know, this business or the way the government has gone about this kind of thing requires a coup. Should you be arrested for that? You're just expressing an opinion. Unless there is some evidence of a capacity to carry out a coup or evidence of preparation to carry out a coup, I don't think that one should go arresting people who are expressing, I mean, showing youthful exuberance, I mean, really. Because sometimes then you are pouring oil, rather, you know, on fire, you see. So you got, you know, the state has the option to prosecute or not to prosecute, even when there is a crime which has been committed. The Attorney General can decide not to prosecute. That is a power that the Attorney General has. So you must use the power of arrest in, you know, in circumstances where you're not abusing people's rights or infringing upon human rights.
That freedom of speech that you speak about, is that to suggest, for instance, that because we have the freedom of speech, we can just get up and be in the face of economic challenges or difficulties, governance hurdles, just threaten coup and hide on the back of freedom of speech?
Well, it's a question of whether there is a threat or somebody is just showing his frustration.
If the economic challenges are not resolved, there could be a coup.
Well, you can say, for example, that, you know, maybe a certain misstep, you know, merits a coup. But it doesn't mean, therefore, that you really mean it. I mean, like, you are a journalist. I'm quite sure quite often you express opinions which, if you were to be taken to be taken seriously, you could be arrested. I mean, we watch these programs on TV3 and some of the, what you call it, Joy and the rest. And some of the opinions that I express, I'm sure, offend authority. But you have to also appreciate that there should be freedom of speech. If there is no freedom of speech, you cannot even correct the mistakes that are being made. So it is important. You've got to balance one value as against another, you know. So I think that is what I was trying to do, to say that, look, yes, we don't want to be asking for coups, but at the same time, we must also feel free to say that maybe certain situations require a coup. If you say a certain situation or a misdeed requires a coup, it doesn't mean that you are preparing for a coup or that you have even the capacity to make a coup. I think we've got to be a little balanced, you know, and mature in the way we handle these cases.
The political party system that we have seem to have the NPP and the NDC, your party, ruling this country. You think that a third force is workable in order to get to where we want to go?
Well, I don't know. The question is how to get it.
How to get the third force?
Yes, how to get it. It's not enough just to say you want to create a third force, you know. And let's face it, to some extent, the NDC is a third force between the Dankwa Buzia group and the CPP. And the NDC more or less took over most of the CPP and some elements of the Dankwa Buzia tradition. But anyway, it's become a strong party now, so it's the NDC versus the MPP. So I don't know. If you create another third force, and that third force supersedes the existing ones and becomes the one that contends with one of the existing ones, where are you getting? I don't know.
Let's wrap up this conversation talking about your district, where you come from, the newly created Guan district. It is a new one, and certainly with challenges. What are some of the challenges, and how do we deal with them and push the district's development, the Guan district?
Now we have a certain platform, and I've suggested to our people that where the government is failing, we can show the way. For example, there's no reason why OT region cannot look for a partner that can produce chocolate. We don't have to leave this to CMB. The CMB is completely, I mean, really, I don't know. I mean, they're just, I don't know. I think they could be doing more than they're doing. But if they're not doing it, there's no reason why some region cannot look for a partner that can produce chocolate on a scale that enables the country to share the part of the business of the chocolate industry. So you can do that. So we can show the way OT region can show the way of development. And also, we have facilities for producing rice. There's no reason why we cannot produce enough rice even to satisfy the whole country, you know. And there's no reason why we cannot produce tomatoes and not have to depend on Burkina Faso. You know, so, I mean, we shouldn't just always, you know, every time I listen to people, we want government to come in, or we need government support. Can't you get the support yourself? Can't you be the one who creates the support? Everything, we are looking up to government. I mean, that's a wrong approach.
But that's not the way perhaps our democratic system is. The politician comes into office promising to help the people, so the people will demand back what you promised.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that when the politician promises, but you can do something on your own, you shouldn't do it. There's nothing that stops you from doing it. It's just a certain laziness of attitude, that's all. We just need to grow out of it, you know. The spirit of enterprise, you know, it's absolutely important, you know. And the educational system, to some extent, has been, you know, can be blamed for it, because you see, we did not emphasize technical education sufficiently. You know, if you take the Asian tigers, that is where they left us behind. Malaysia, South Korea, Singapore, that's where they left us behind. Take a place like Singapore. It's a big industrial country. They don't have anything. They only have seawater. But look at where they are. It's one of the, more or less, one of the first world countries, you know. So why can't we do that? That is it. See, I don't know. There's a certain laziness of attitude. But also, we have to change the educational system to pay a lot of attention to vocational and technical studies.
Your area, the Gwan district, and not only there, but the people of Akpafu, the Lulubi, Likwe, and the rest do not have a representation in Parliament. How worrying is this?
They don't have a representation right now.
Right now in
Yes,
Parliament.
it is worrying to some extent, but let's look at the balance of power in Parliament. I mean, the MPP and the NDC are almost of equal strength. And the MPP is in government. For example, they need the strength to pass the e-levy. They're trying to marshal their own people is becoming difficult. Why do you think they want to create another seat that will be an NDC seat? There's no way my seat is going to be anything but NDC seat.
The Gwan district?
Oh, yeah, I mean, there's no way. I'm there.
So,
as long as I'm there, NDC will win that seat.
And so, are you suggesting that is why
that
the
is
interest
why
was not there to create the
oh,
constituency?
Yes, I know that is the reason why government is not anxious to create a constituency for us right now. And, you know, you can go to court on the basis of human rights provisions, but you know how long cases take? You know, I mean, they can maneuver in such a way that in that case will never get finished before the next election. And I believe that by the next election, they will create the constituency for us. So sometimes you can't win everything, you know.
So for you, 2024, that constituency will be created?
Oh, yeah, by all means. To be created, there's no way it will not be created. No government, not even this government is not going to be comfortable not creating it. They will do it.
You're not going to court if it doesn't get created?
Or if it doesn't get created, then we'll go to court. Then we're going to stop the whole election. Yeah, the electoral commissioner will be made to stop the election until it is created. Then we'll go to court.
At 65, we're wrapping up the conversation. At 65, we're heading into 66, 67, and then 70, and on and on. What would be your vision of Ghana in the next 5, 10 years?
I want us to start to grow like the Asian tigers. That is, you learn the way they did it, you know. I mean, even you take a place like China, I mean, the Western world was really more developed first. But the Russians have caught up with them. The Chinese have caught up with them. The Asian tigers have caught up with them. And sometimes just by copying, really. Why don't we copy too? I mean, when we have individuals showing enterprise, we don't encourage them. So you get a person like Dr. Dufour. He sets up a bank that is functioning properly. Ekosindom also has a bank. Then, for some political reasons, you go and collapse those banks.
Yeah, the government says that they did things that were wrong.
Which were wrong. The people who were putting their money there, did they complain? Is it government's business? So if something is wrong, let the people whose money is there go and take them to court. Then we have Safo Kantaka. What is it, Kantanka or something? He's producing vehicles. How many of them do we buy? We are buying V8s and the rest from Japan and from Europe. We're not encouraging the enterprising ones that are coming up with ideas. We need to change that attitude.
Thank you. Dr. Obed Asamoah, Ghana's longest Attorney General Minister of Justice, talking to me there. Thanks so much for watching.